Well, let's talk about the wounded womb, Dr. Phil Valentine, because you know for a fact, and probably just talking to different women, that the average woman, whether she's black or white, is not connected to her womb. And she doesn't understand how important her womb is and how her womb is like a sponge. It absorbs. So the multiple partners, you know what I mean, the multiple abortions and these things like that, it tears down the womb. And then you wonder why, you know, you have to get a hysterectomy, or you wonder why you can't get pregnant, because your womb have all of these different sexual demons in it from your past relationships, because women don't know to go and purge themselves out and go through a fasting and a healing process to get these entities out of them. They don't know. So they just jump from relationship to relationship. And the same thing with the man, because now he's bringing spiritual demons to the woman that he goes into. So it's going both ways. But I'm just saying the woman right tonight because we're speaking on the womb. But this goes for the man and the woman listeners. Don't think I'm just targeting the woman. And they don't understand it. They don't see the importance of that. So kind of like shed some light on that, because I'm seeing women in their 30s getting hysterectomy, Dr. Valentine.
I've seen them in their 20s. And it's been a horrendous thing. Yeah, this was a plague. Back in the 1990s, a hysterectomy was what the doctors ordered, especially in the black community. And black women were getting more cesareans. Black women were getting, as far as that is concerned, in the national average, proportional to the number of people in demographics. They were getting at least 5 to 6 times more abortions in the black community than in the white communities. So what you're looking at are what it is that has been marginalized. Our thinking, as far as black women, also women in general, have been marginalized to come out of that spiritual space, that place of peace in their minds that would give them access to that silent voice that speaks to them from within. And the problem is that they are so busy now doing men's things and pursuing men's careers, dealing with men's world and acting and being like men, that that voice is no longer heard or even want to be accessed. And so the book that I wrote was for them to reacquaint themselves with that inner voice, because all I am doing is essentially speaking or translating what that voice is saying. And when they do what they do, and when certain things are overlooked regarding femininity, rites of passage, certain behavioral modalities that the great-grandmothers passed down. And I want to say this. I'm not saying this because I think I know more. Understand that when I did my book or the research, I wasn't doing researches in any books. I went and sat at the feet of my great-grandmothers, the grandmothers and grandaunts. My godmother was Olatunji, Baba Olatunji's wife. And she used to speak to me about the different cultural perspectives that women had. Women have a lot of power as women, but they're seeking power as men now, which in giving up that power, they gave up that power they had that actually was the true power. And what they're doing now is turning so-called matriarchal power into a weapon rather than it being the one that actually disarms us, disarms men of their passion. They've now caused men to come up in arms. Men don't want to be with women anymore today because of what it is that society has allowed women to get away with. And the problem is now that since they have been corralled into that behavioral behavioral bubble, now that Trump is in the office, they're left out in the cold because he's coming back with a vengeance. And every time a society gets matriarchally saturated, they automatically go completely in the opposite into a kind of a fascist type of mentality. And what has happened is feminism has now caused a male backlash. And you're going to see it happen over the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to see now that you're going to have a lot of women out here who's not going to get the same jobs anymore that they were actually fighting for under the Obama, under Hillary Clinton, which were feminists and more fascist and socialist. These people, these white folks that's coming out here now with Trump with their banner, they're going to stop all of this. They're cutting funds to everything that has actually allowed feminism to actually root out families, to force women, real women. I'm not saying all women are like this. I'm saying the real women who want to be women. They have actually waged war against them. They have caused them to feel guilty if they don't do the things that they say they have to do as women today. So real women are suffering just like the men were suffering as well. So what's happening now is the backlash. You're going to start seeing men not wanting to get married, not wanting to have any real steady relationships. And if they do have the relationships, they can jump from one partner to the next because there's no trusting anymore. In the beginning, during the 1990s, when feminism was on the rise from the 1980s into what we call gender feminism or Amazonian feminism, the psychopolitical warfare was to get women to distrust men. And that's exactly what happened. They have really put out everything on the TV. It was all about how men were this, macho this, and so forth. Now, going into 2000, women are doing the very same things that they were arguing about men. And the very same things that men were doing, that they say men were doing, they're doing now. And so that's putting men off. And now from that particular point of view, women are no longer seen as someone that you would pursue, want to set up with a family, especially the women here in America. There's thousands of men are just leaving America and going and finding women in so-called third world countries. You know, they say, well, that's because they're dumb and they're stupid. Men are threatened by strong women. There's no such thing as a strong woman. And what's a strong woman? A woman that acts like a man? A strong woman is a belligerent one, a woman that doesn't listen, a woman that doesn't want to hear any kind of advice that she doesn't think is what this is the kind of thing that they've equated with strong women. Strong women is a belligerent woman, one who is argumentative. That's what they call strong. Strong women I knew in my life when I was coming up were the ones that were actually having babies. You know, my grandmother, I was sitting in the kitchen with my grandmother helping a woman to deliver a baby when I was living in Trinidad as I was growing up. I see my grandmother delivering babies on the kitchen table, clear it off, and had dinner on it the same night. That's the kind of life that I lead when I watch real strong women, women who held down the house, women who actually created food, cooked, not only that, grew food, and was out there sewing. They said that these are, women were made to believe that these were somehow slave labor, that, we got you in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. What? So all those years that women were taught not to be women, the foundation of the home, the one that kept the home in equilibrium and in peace, they no longer wanted that. So families no longer meant anything under this liberation, this so-called feminist liberation. So I know I'm going on and on, but you're right.
No,
the woman's womb is no longer listened to. Yeah, a woman's womb is not listened to anymore. She no longer listens to what her womb says. Her womb says not to go out there and throw yourself so that you're falling on your belly when you're playing the volleyball. And I mean, these women go prostrate and bang themselves. The womb is very precious. Those eggs are floating on a very gossamer environment. And women today are so hardened now that the children they have coming out of wombs that have been overemphasizing masculine traits, they don't see it that later on down the line the genetics are going to show up in their grandchildren. They don't understand what they're doing to their bodies is affecting the future. And those who have what I call agendas to destroy or to cause genocide amongst the people, those who have that agenda are doing their very best, their level best, to make sure that women no longer take on the role of being real women. You see, black women from let's say up to from 1972, I believe, to 1990 something, 4 million abortions in the black community. That means 4 million children. I forgot the actual date or the timeline, but it means there's 4 million black children who were aborted in this country. And that's because of what feminism did. And again, that the way that they destroyed the society and took away the masculine head of the family. And, of course, women don't want to hear that anymore. They don't want to hear that the man is the head of the household. They, well, we're partners. Well, there can't be two leaders anywhere. Imagine they have two generals giving orders to an army. What the heck does that mean?
Right.
Two generals are over there saying, you do this. No, you do this. There has to be a kind of an order that I grew up in. When my father was the last person, after he assessed the situation, my mother gave all of the variables. She said, here's why this would work, here's why this would work, blah, blah, blah. He'd take it and he says, okay, this is what I see, and that's how we went. And the house ran smoothly. There was no problems in the house like that. Of course, there were arguments. There were all these different, but there was a working order. We don't have that anymore. And the men, our boys are being raised by our mothers. Women who wanted freedom and liberation now are working twice as hard. They're getting the diseases that men used to get in droves now because they wanted to do the things that men do, or they were forced into that particular arena. In fact, the very word career, my sister, the word career, the etymology of the word career is combat. So there you go. Women have been put on the front lines, and they have put into the working place so that they can actually participate in combat, what men do.
Mm-hmm. And women are taking on a lot of men jobs like construction, you name it, they doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We won't have that very long. I mean, when America changes the gender equation and tells you that there are over 200 different gender models now with about 100 different sexual orientations, that means that somebody is trying to confuse the generations to come so that they don't do anything that constructs a society or has a steady foundation in the society. And there's a template. There's a plan to everything, you see. And that template for family is a father, a mother, and raising the children. That they took that completely out of the equation, and then everything went hog ass wild. And that's exactly where we are right now. And everybody's saying, well, nobody's married. Yes, black people are marrying. But then how long are those marriages staying together? Yeah.
Right, 3-4 months, they're divorced already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they're following these clowns that the society has now put up as their gurus and their priests. These entertainers that okay, what is Nicki Minaj going to say now, and what did she do to blah blah blah? Why would you even care? That person is making bank on your completely misguided attention to her nonsense.
Right,
and this
right.
is the kind of thing, why are you even worried about, what the Kardashians are doing? Who are these clowns that you feel that you must now take your precious attention and give it to? Because, remember they used to say pay attention. So every time you give attention to something, you're paying them something. And you're paying them with your life. You're paying them with the cost of your own mind. Come on. Yeah.
Giving your energy to the wrong people.
Yeah. It's not really giving it; they're sucking it out of you.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain exactly what causes a wounded womb? Like, for instance, a woman that have multiple partners, or she's in and out with different relationships. Mm-hmm. Because I feel that affection in the womb gets into her brain and into her mind, and it literally drives you borderline crazy. Because I've seen some sisters, they just out of their mind.
I spoke about this 20 years ago, and they thought that I was crazy. I told them that the man's semen is the one that fixes you. The first man to deposit sperm in you fixes your bloodstream, and he does and changes the auric field in your body so that he is a part of you for life. Most people don't understand it. And when I told them that, they say, "Oh, it's most metaphysical mumbo jumbo." No, it's not. Now, I think back in the late 1990s and 2000, they finally come out. A woman came out, a doctor came out and said, "This is what happens when sperm enters your body." And that's exactly what the elder women back in the old days and the metaphysicians and the occultists were saying. Sperm is actually what I call alchemized sunlight. It is directly tinctured from the man's cerebrospinal fluid, and it is a very special tincture. It harbors a high level of phosphorus, which is a glowing material. Healthy sperm can actually glow in the dark if it has the high phosphorus content that
illumination.
That is usually illumination, and it's supposed to stand up. It has this covering on it. It has this. It's surrounded by a gelatinous material to protect it from the acidic content in the female womb. See, the female womb is an acidic area, and that acidic area is supposed to be a balanced acidic area. And what happens is the acidic area kills sperm. So the sperm is covered. Healthy sperm is covered with a layering, so that it helps to turn the inside of the woman's vagina from an acidic to an alkaline. So it allows the sperm to live longer in the vagina, so that there's an optimal chance for pregnancy to occur. And so that is gone now. Most men, because they're so completely lascivious and just casting their seed any and every place, the sperm does not have a chance to regenerate, and the protective shield is not there to regenerate as well. And not only is the protection there for the sperm, but it's protection, the semen that comes out in the beginning of the sexual act, that comes before the actual sperm. That is an antibiotic.
Is that the pre-sperm?
What the pre-sperm? Yes, the stuff that's clear, the clear substance, the seminal material, the seminal fluid. The semen itself, or the spermatozoa, comes afterwards. But what the man does is he puts a antibiotic into the female first, if he's healthy. You see, because if a man's thoughts and if a man's actions, if a man's eating habits are not righteous, then he can deposit that, because his sperm is him, and his sperm will reflect that. So sometimes when women are with certain types of men, they don't understand that their psyche is being changed by his sperm. And if you don't think that a man has that much power over you, yes, he does. That's because you are even making testosterone. You don't make estrogen just by making estrogen. Estrogen first is tinctured from testosterone. So you have to go through a process called aromatase. So the aromatase process does the testosterone in the female change into the pregnenolone. It's a weird word for me to get, and the pregnenolone, as well as the progesterone, which then becomes the tripartite of estrogen, with estrol, estrogen, and estradiol. So what happens is that women don't understand, as well as men don't understand, that process is very, very metaphysical. It's very spiritual, sex. And then when that man's sperm enters your body, it's not just by entering the canal and you flush it out like a toilet. It's gone. It's in there. It's absorbed by the womb, by the inner walls. And before it even goes up into the os is that little part that you feel at the very top of your womb. That's the place that that most women like to have the penis hit, because when the woman is having an orgasm, that little part there, the little thing called the os that hangs from the womb, it retracts. Just like a man's testicles retracts when he is orgasming, that part of the woman retracts. And so that's why sometimes women don't understand that the very thin line between pleasure and pain is that when he's banging against that part right there begins to become and develop scar tissue. That's where the fibroids begin to start depositing, because everybody says, "Well, I want to have a man. Well, my man got to be 8 or 9 inches." And that's ridiculous, because the inside of the woman's canal is about 4 inches deep. It can stretch to accommodate. Black women have at least a 5-inch, maybe 5.5-inch from the mouth of the vagina to the back of the womb. But anything larger than that is an accommodation, and that banging against the back of the womb, that it's very pleasurable, but then it causes a lot of damage. It causes also a weakening of the area, and that's when endometriosis steps in. That's when women start to clot a lot when they're having their menstrual, when the cycle actually comes to the bleeding part. When they see these big lumps are coming, it's because the womb is so weak that it develops pockets, and the blood pools in those pockets, and then comes out as these heavy, or very thick clots. Women say, I don't know why I'm clotting. I clot a lot. That's because you have a very weak lining to your womb.
And that's because of all the hard penetration.
That's part of it. But also, of course, it has to do with diet and the fact that she does not take the time to exercise her womb. There's different. The Kegel is one of them. Yoga.
Yeah, I hear them making jokes.
Yoga.
I hear women making jokes about the jade egg and the yoni egg and the Kegels.
Mm-hmm.
I hear them making jokes about it. I hear them saying, "Oh, why would you want to put stones in your body? What is that supposed to do?"
Mm-hmm.
I hear them making jokes about the abdominal wound massage. I went to a place in Delray Beach called the Red Tent, and they do abdominal wound massages. I went there like 3 or 4 times, and I tell you, Dr. Valentine, that I can't even explain how I felt. It was like someone went in there with a vacuum and just cleared it out. It just cleared it out, okay? House cleaning. And when I stood up, I felt like lightheaded, but it was a good lightheaded. I felt like a relief came out of me, like some toxins came out of me. Then she had me sitting over this womb steamer. You know, it's like you sit on this chair, and then there's a steam at the bottom of the chair, and even that felt great. And then when I lay down on the bed and she did the abdominal womb massage, that just topped it off.
Yeah, we used to call it the steam bidet.
Okay. Yeah, because my granny said they used to do that back in the day, but they didn't do it the way the traditional places is doing it. They had their own little way. Mm-hmm.
Well, the natives did it in the sweat lodge. The women did it in the female sweat lodge, and the men did it in the male sweat lodge.
And the man's right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And now that we're talking about that, I need to make me an appointment because it's been like a year or 2 since I've been back to the Red Tent. So it's time to keep that process going. You know, that's my way of saying I went to the gynecologist. You know, that's my gynecologist. And nobody even have to open you up and look all up in you, you know?
Yeah, that I think was one of the worst things of the sciences that ever came out of the European, because what they did to black women
GYN?
in order to create the GYN model was barbaric. And to have a man, probing around in your insides for you to find out when a child of 13, a girl of 13 in Africa knows more than a woman of 40 about her own body is ridiculous. Women didn't have to go to male doctors to deal with anything. And it's ridiculous.
They went to the midwife, right?
Mm-hmm. They went to the doula. Yeah.
Or the doulas, exactly. Because I know my granny said when she was coming up, the midwife would deliver the baby. The midwife would be like the baby doctor in a sense. She was just everything.
Oh, yeah. That was my grandmother. The villagers came to her. Whenever got pregnant, blah, 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 blah. They'd come to her, and then she had the baby there, because there were no hospitals where I lived. It was damn near in the bush. So, everything had to be done. It was almost like a village, an African village. It was a fishing village where I lived.
So what did they do with the umbilical cord? Did they do the I forgot the name of it.
Taken and buried it. They buried it.
Mm-hmm.
They buried
it. Did they leave it attached to the baby?
Yeah, they left it attached to the baby for a while. Matter of fact, the mother, they would carry it around. The baby, it would be there with the baby before they snipped it. It would be wrapped in there with the baby. But before they snipped it, it actually stopped throbbing and shrunk down. So it was very easy to cut at that point. It was tied off for a while, but only after it began to shrink did they tie it off. and then they allowed it to drop off after they just tied it off and cut it. But like I said, they don't do the things that are natural anymore. I'm talking about seriously natural. We think that we look at pregnancy as a disease now. Mothers have to you got to go to a doctor because mothers are so unhealthy today. They have to go to doctors. Pregnancy is a natural thing. It's a normal thing. It's a thing that every other animal on the planet does. They don't need no doctors. Why do you need a doctor?
Right.
Must be something terribly wrong. And why are you screaming and cussing out your husband and kicking the doctor when a cat or a dog lays down and has 6 puppies? You don't hear her whimper or say a damn thing. 6 puppies.
She's so quiet.
And she's ready to nurse. You
Mm-hmm.
don't ever see. You don't know when a cat's having babies. You don't hear her screaming. Only women. The reason why women are in such pain. The only reason why women are in such pain to do a natural thing is because
my daughter had her baby at home. Mhm.
Well, I'm just saying the reason why women are in so much pain when they have children is because their bodies are now structurally weakened by the very lifestyles that they have. It goes all the way around the planet. Only human beings suffer during a natural process. No other species alive suffers to do the process that they do, to do a natural process. Think about that. How far have we fallen as a species when the natural order of things that carries on a species happens with the greatest of pain and suffering? That's crazy. That's nuts.
Exactly.
Something is wrong. Something has happened.
Especially when I talk to women and they tell me they didn't feel any labor. All they know is that the baby came out.
Yeah. I delivered my grandchild. I delivered 3 other children. Phenomenal. Still keeps me in awe to watch you all walking around with something alive in you. That's like
yeah, exactly.
As a human being. Wow.
Is there any kind of way that a man could strengthen his semen?
Well,
because I think the acidic sperm, isn't the acidic sperm open to chlamydia and gonorrhea? That's where people get sexually transmitted diseases. Is it related to this acidic sperm, or also because of being with different partners and not knowing how clean they are?
Nice non-circumcised men who are not hygienic. There's the reason why our ancestors in ancient Kemet practiced circumcision, which is what the Jews stole, is because of the fact that men essentially, that part that is the prepuce that grows over the head of the penis, that is actually a fault in the genetics of both men and women. We grow a pseudo vulva, and that's what the prepuce is. It's an overextension of the masculine principle going into the feminine, just like the feminine overextending into the masculine principle when she grows the clitoris. And most people say, well, what's the clitoris about? Why does it have a clitoris? Well, why do you have a masculine organ that essentially does nothing else but hyperactivate you into a very, very powerful orgasm that lasts for 3 or 4 minutes or 3 or 4 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, and then exhausts you afterwards? That has no... listen, I'm saying, most people don't know what a...
And then you sleep afterwards.
You're right. Most people don't understand that there's something called the law of reciprocal maintenance. The law of reciprocal maintenance states that if there is a design in a particular part of the body, it has to function in 2 ways. It has to have dual function. So reciprocal maintenance means that whatever I put in, I must get out. Or whatever I don't do will be done for me so that I can respond. So life is about reciprocity. What is the reciprocity except the exhaustion of you for a 10-second high on what they call a nut. You bang out that overstimulation of the clitoris. You go off crazy, and you go to your high, and then all of a sudden you're drained of your materials. And the same thing I speak about in my book about the squirting and so forth. Most people think that these, the uses of these particular organs are somehow normal or natural. But again, my book explains it. Now, as far as the prepuce is concerned, there are a lot of men who do not take the time to be hygienic about their penis. And what happens is, because the hood covers the penis and there is urine, and you usually, if you're not circumcised, there's no way the urine does not get back up under the skin. And so there is this tendency inside the skin, if he's not hygienic, is to the smegma is what it's called, builds up behind the head of the penis. And sometimes it's there in such a small quantity that even though he thinks he has cleaned himself properly, it's not all there. And that's how the smegma gets planted as a type of yeast that then begins to grow inside of the acidic environment that the vagina has. So it's very, very, it's a very weird thing that our ancestors knew so much about the hygiene in their day and time. And we think now, because of the European and how the European has taught us to be, that I'm not talking about the Jew because he follows ancient Kemetic law, contrary to us. But white people today in the so-called feminist community, as well as the so-called New Age community, are now saying that cutting a man is somehow unnatural. Well, the very fact that coming out of the womb with an unnatural appendage, they don't see that the deformity happened in the genetics some 100,000 years ago, and it's only expressing itself through this lineage today. There are some women that used to be born without clitorises back in the ancient days in Ethiopia. I remember women telling me that they knew women that were born without clitorises. This is a throwback itself to.
How is that?
That's what I'm saying. Well, they weren't born with it because of the genetics. There are certain genetics in this society when it's, and of course people are going to look at me and laugh at me, and they're going to listen to me.
No, not me.
Well, he crazy, he a man. No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying people, if you're going to have a listenership, the first thing they're going to say is I'm crazy, and as a man, what do I know about a woman's body? It's ridiculous. I get this type of response
yeah, it is.
from women. Yeah, but I do. I get response like this from certain women because they think that because I don't have the plumbing that they do, I don't know what the plumbing and how the plumbing works. I took the time to study how the plumbing works even though you didn't. So I understand all of the nuances of it even though I don't have it. So for me when you got, just to say, if you got a toilet backed up where you got a broken pipe or something in there or the electrical wiring is gone, you call for a specialist. And it usually comes out as a man, even if it's a woman. You go and you defer to their wisdom about a specific circumstance. But then I get when certain feminized women, I ask them, then if you tell me I can't tell you what's going on with you, how is it that there are so many dozens of books supported and promoted by Oprah that tells men what they need to do? But women write. Women have more how-to books for men about what they need to do and how they need to be with women. And yet still I can't write about you. Why not? And that's the type of...
You don't even know about you.
Yeah, privileged mentality. But again, everything that I've said now in my room, which started out as like 30 pages first as a booklet, then it grew all the way to 300 pages. Then it went to 1,500 pages, which I cut back to 700 pages. So the book went through different variations on the theme because I began to upgrade the information in the book in conjunction with the medical and scientific evidence that continued to come out, which backed up everything I said 15 years before. So every time something came out to verify what I said that people laughed at, I put that in the book and said, here it is. So in the book, it is suffused with so-called professional, professional corroboration of the things that I've said. And so people who are arguing with me and yelling at me and calling me misogynist and, I hate women, they can go in the back and find over 100 different books, scientific references to substantiate everything I'm saying in this book. And my wife whom I met, she came to me when she had breast cancer. Dr. Nolani, you should really have a message with her. She came to me with
I was going to ask you if you can talk to her to come on. Not today, but another time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She came on. She had with breast cancer. They were going to perform a mastectomy on one and a lumpectomy on the other. And I told her, don't worry about it. I said, cancer is not what most doctors promote it to be. Most doctors are the ones that kill you, not the cancer. I told her to look at cancer differently because everybody has a view of cancer based upon what is being promoted as cancer. But cancer essentially is nothing more than radicalized yeast. And that's how I look at it, because the same things that promote cancer promote yeast. So anybody who has has proliferative yeast in their body has the precursors to cancer, or what they would call cancer later on. So what I say to people is, if you do have cancer, don't let that word, the big C word, start crippling you from the beginning. Because as soon as you get that word, your mind begins to start destroying the very things in your body that you need to heal you. Cancer is not a killer. Cancer does not kill. And when you understand that, understand and overstand it, then you will conquer it. But if you think that the doctor's medicine, the drugs, his burning, his cutting, all of the different ways that he attacks you, not your cancer, he attacks you in order to kill the cancer with this collateral damage that he does. He attacks you. If you want to understand how the cancer came about, what cancer is really made up of, and how you can address it, then you need to deal with it from a holistic perspective, not from a medical perspective, because the medical church kills more people in a year than any other disease out here.
But isn't cancer a parasite? So yeast is a parasite then, right?
All things that live from you or off of the worst in you are parasitic. We all have parasites to one degree or another. They live with us. They're good and some of them are bad. The only reason they turn bad is because the environment turns bad. Let me ask you a question, and this is a question of logic, very simple logic. If you walk up on a pile of garbage, and I mean this garbage really stinks, if you walk up on a pile of garbage and you see flies buzzing all around it, do you think in yourself that the flies brought the garbage or the garbage brought the flies?
The garbage brought the flies.
Yes. So therefore, how is it that they say that germs cause anything? How do they say that viruses cause anything? No, these are after the fact. They're there because your body is full of garbage. Remove the garbage and you remove the reason why they are proliferating.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of sense. That's some real talk right there. Because and I say that all the time. It's like you want to get rid of your illness, but you don't want to stop eating the same stuff that's making you sick, and you don't want to get rid of those bad thoughts. That's why you're sick. So you can't win if you're still eating the same thing that gave you cancer in the first place.
Indeed, and you don't have to look like like Beyonce. You don't have to be busting your chops. You don't have $1 million to stay in a health lodge or in the weight room, for 2 and 6 hours that they pay people to do, so you can go up in there. You don't have to be The Rock. You can have a little weight on you. There's some healthy people that don't look healthy, and the healthy look at people that ain't healthy. And I see
what? Tell me about it. Yes, like they're going to fade away, Dr. Valentine. Fade away.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of the
and they
people
mean,
that
Dr. Valentine. They're mean.
yeah,
And they're mean. They're vegans, but they mean. They hateful.
some of the most
I don't
people
get
I have
it.
found were were from were dancers, like ballet dancers. They were really unhealthy.
Oh, okay.
And I was wondering, I was saying, well, these are really athletic people. Why are they unhealthy? And they were really unhealthy. A lot of them had poor menstrual cycles. A lot of them had migraine headaches. A lot of them, their bodies were completely torn apart. And I understand that as an athlete, you definitely put your body through it. But some of the people that don't look like that, they're outliving these super healthy people. You know, the people that you're talking about that live to 100 and 110, these people weren't running up the side of mountains and jogging in the snow and all that. These were the elders who just lived life without stress, and they had their stresses, but they dealt with it. They had their offshoot, even they had their religion. But these elders that are living past 100, up in their 90s, they don't have the stress. Never had the stresses that the young women today and others today have. And these people who think that they're getting all this stuff from this industry that's talking about prolonging your life, that's nonsense. All you're doing by all this crazy amount of exercising is just burning out your life. So let me ask you a question. If you have a 40-watt bulb and you put 80 watts through it, what happens?
It's going to blow. Too much power.
Right. But what does it do right before it blows?
It kind of like makes that it makes a sound like, and then it pops.
It
you hear like a little popping.
But it glows brighter than its 40 watts. With all this super amount of exercise, unless you're going to be training, of course, for the Olympics.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It gets brighter, then it pops out. Yeah.
Right. So you look all bright and all chipper, and oh man, look how good you look. And these people I see, my friends, they're one doing. He died at 67. You know, he's dying at 58. You know, it was at 61. And these people were doing all this amount of exercising and stuff. And, these are young. So I'm saying, I put on weight for the winter. In the winter, now I'm going to take it off for the summer. But I'm not stressing. That's the thing that actually causes the exacerbation of all kinds of illnesses and challenges in the system. Stress and worry and fear. These are some of the things that the society targets in you and causes the amplification of. Because you just turn on your news today and look at your news and tell me if you don't think the sky is falling like in the middle. Because essentially that's what they're there to do, to ramp up your fear, to break down your defense system so that they can sell you that new drug that has about 10,000 different side effects. Notice, look at your news. Look at the way that they give you the commercials. They tell you what to eat, which is crap, and then they tell you what to take after you eat the crap. Okay? And then in between that, they tell you that the sky is falling.
Right.
It's a racket.
And then you wonder why you're sick.
Indeed.
I have two callers on the line. I'm going to see if they want to ask you a question. Caller 757-704. State your name. I have your mic open. 757.
707.
Yeah, 757-707. State your name.
Greetings. This is Black Lion. Me too. Brother, me too.
Okay, give thanks for calling.
Yes, greetings, Elder, for all the years you put in. Even my mother, would sit and listen to your lectures, So I give thanks for you still teaching and advising us, even as men, from children, from when you have been teaching. So give thanks, Elder, first and foremost. Right. So I give thanks. So I would ask your permission to speak because I know it's only right.
Indeed. Where permission granted.
Give thanks.
He's so mannerable, Dr. Valentine. He's so mannerable.
Man is a future elder there.
That's right.
Give thanks. on my mind is resistance, because when I hear wounded womb, I think of my mother's battle and my grandmother who has transitioned, and the different ways that they are militant. My grandmother was what she knew which was church, hallelujah, and good works, and then tithing by that, and trying to go with the family ethics. My mother was, raised with the knowledge of Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan, who was an elder who was also transitioning. She taught me of Tamaray in Africa, and she was a Garveyite by heart, still is, Give thanks for my mother, so resistance for the black woman is on my mind. And I think that we need a martial art and a language. And I'm looking at, whether it be RUF, which is Rastafari United Front for myself, for ISELF, or Ethiopian United Federation, to try to get some militancy, but some training. But resistance is important, if nothing else, for our black women, especially with spring about to happen, because then these energies of our blooming flowers, as brothers and sisters and our children are going to be budding, and that energy will try to be used against us, or used for us to use it against us in a latter day. That's how it usually happens. So defense is important to me, and I mean that in a mental way too. Planning as far as real estate for the people, being able to have funds for ourselves, like wholesale and real estate. I'm learning that. So these are the things that's on my mind, Elder. So I would just say thank you. Like anyone, I'm starstruck, and I give thanks, but resistance is on my mind. So if you could add on to that or anything, Elder, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. I feel, your power and your passion. I can tell you that resistance can take the form of many different tactical approaches. The way women resist is by becoming women again. The problem is that they have been enrolled, or they have been conscripted in the feminist army. And therefore, even though they may not march lockstep, they still take orders. And they still follow those orders, even consciously or unconsciously. So until women begin to say, no, I will no longer put my men out of work by taking specific places that they need in order for them to take care of family. I will take care of my children and teach my own children. They will no longer go to schools. If women today stopped, especially our people, our women, stopped going into the subways and areas around there, and like you said, learn to fast, pull back, do nothing, period, for a month, and shut this country down. They would have to import the people that they want to export and throw out. White women are not going to do the jobs for black women. White men ain't going to do the jobs of black men. Come crippling and crawling to you. But we don't know how to do that because, again, they have been playing on the feminist psyche, which is, the feminine psyche is one of support. Now that support can take on either a wholesome or pathological support. Right now they've been coerced based on the fact that we as men have been defeated in the battle, not the war, but the battle. And at this time we have not yet regrouped our forces to launch a concerted attack against the injustices and against the type of things that's going on against us subdually, so to speak, under the skin, because they're not showing the racism. Usually these, what they call crackers and
I think your phone is on mute, Dr. Valentine.
Sometimes they cut me off. Hello, you there?
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Yeah. Especially when you got people
Hello.
like you on the line. This always happens.
Hello.
But go ahead, continue. Yes, we hear you. We hear you. You can continue.
Okay, I didn't know you. Yeah, so what has happened is that we have not yet regrouped as men to come and take our sisters back out of the fields. They've been put out into the fields, taken out the homes and thrown out there in the fields. and they're now working. They're out there where we as men are supposed to be doing battle. They have the women doing the work. So at this particular time, our, well, if you want to call it army as a culture, does not have the power because the power has been taken from us. First, it was taken from the man by locking up over 2 million of us on just BS charges, miseducating our black youth, especially our black young men, because they are the ones that's supposed to be the problem solvers, the providers, and the leaders. And if you cripple young boys at that age and teach them to be followers and consumers rather than leaders and employers, then you create essentially a prison population from the time they're in grade school. So these are plans, concerted plans that have money behind them in order for them to work. We do not have land. We do not have a consolidated leadership that is working for us. We have taken all of our most brilliant and put them into these houses in these schools that they call them fraternities. They go into these fraternities and these where they have gifted young black men and women, and they take them to conscript them into that feminist army in the workplace. So yes, I feel you, brother. But what I would say is, if you do have a circle of sisters and brothers who are ready to work together, it starts with just two. It starts with just one. And you see what happened when Marcus Garvey came and started to speak about what he spoke about. And by the time he was done, he had ships, hotels, taxi cab accommodations, international political, newspaper press, everything. And that particular formula can still work. But because of COINTELPRO, we have been given everything and nothing at the same time. It's like the choice between 1984 with George Orwell or Brave New World with Aldous Huxley. They gave us the choice. They took Brave New World over 1984 because they knew that if they tried to take everything from us and to force us into repression, that sooner or later we would rebel. So instead, they threw everything out there. They opened up YouTube, they threw out information, and they flooded our psyches and our consciousness with an overabundance of garbage that has nothing to do with reality. And so now we walk around confused. We have 10,000 different factions that don't know what the hell they're doing, except that they are wearing the uniform of whatever belief system that they have, and they have yet to come together in one belief, and that is, yes, black man, you and I are in the same boat. I don't care what you wear. I don't care what you call your God. Here's what we need to do in order to win. Nobody's doing that. Why? Because they're too busy trying to consolidate monies and take, and stand on pedestals. And I've been with all the different camps, brother. I've sat in the camps of every one of them. And each one of them have a very latent disease of megalomania. I've seen it. So I've pulled away from that.
Why you say that, Dr. Phil?
Because essentially I've seen it and I've heard it. I've been behind the stages listening to what it is that they actually think that's important. They give you one face in the front and they take that face away. Of course they're saying the right things, but it's all rhetoric. It's all hot air. It gets you all tensed up, and then after that, what? You don't have any working model from which to start building. Elijah Muhammad had it for a while. Marcus Garvey definitely had it. The Black Panthers were on point with it. What happened? What about these formulas? These formulas don't even make sense anymore because everybody at the leadership is trying to be leaders or wants to be acting like leaders, or they want to have the same charisma as a Khalid. They want the same charisma as a Marcus. That does not work. That is not working. That's why if you listen to any of what I've been saying over the last 40 years, I tell you one thing: don't follow me anywhere. Find the leadership within before you can actually act like a leader without. Period.
Exactly.
Trying to be cut and paste scholars, and they want to get on YouTube so they can have enough hits. What the hell does that mean? And most of the young, people that's out here doing it, most of the young people that's out here doing it are doing nothing but pimping what the elders have done, and they're putting it out there as if they're the ones that's doing it. I've never ever not had stopped to take the chance, never have not stopped to take the chance to give honor and praises to my elders, which is Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, Dr. Van Sertova. You see, these are my elders. These are the ones that paved the way for me. But the young people today, very few, not you, brother, but they have very few out there that's out there proselytizing that don't remember that nobody was talking about this 40 years ago in the community until we started talking about it. Nobody was actually promoting this. I know the Rastafarian community very well. Back in New York, I had very close ties with them there, and we were very close friends. In fact, I used to have to help them to get their thing together. I knew some of the top musicians in the Rastafarian community who are out there. I knew the lead singer. I knew the lead singer.
Who's laughing?
A friend of mine.
Oh no, I know. Just listening to the elder, Black Lion.
Oh well, why was that funny? What did he say that was funny? I know Dr. Phil be throwing shots, but he didn't say nothing funny yet.
Give thanks. Yes, elder. Continue if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. They're one of the top musicians, the first reggae band to get a Grammy Award. The lead singer, I won't say the name of the band, but the first, you can look it up. The first guy, his name is, his initials is M.R., okay? And he and I became best friends, and I helped him to grow his family. And I mean, I knew what it took. I knew everything that everybody from every camp needed in order for them to grow and to come together. And again, it doesn't matter what tribal mindset you have. There is a collective, this is why Hannibal was so powerful. The reason why Hannibal conquered Rome was because he brought together different factions of the army. He had a cavalry, he had an archery, he had a foot soldier, he had close combat, he had tacticians, he had different tribes from different peoples that he brought together.
Elephant trainer.
To the ship. Yes, yes. And the elephant wrangler, they call them. And I mean, this is the type of thing that we don't have. We have such a diversity of people, a great diversity of people with great diversities of talent. And we still can't coalesce that because why? The society is being run by some devils. I'm talking about some real dyed-in-the-wool. I'm proud to say that I am a devil. And they do. Behind closed doors, they're very proud of being satanic. And they don't care. We have to care about it as we are. Yeah. We have to care about how we react to them. We can't play their game. You play their game, that means you fall into their rules. You fall into their rules, you're already lost before you begin.
And it's true. They don't have no shame in their game. They're evil. They're evil. They don't have a problem with saying that about themselves because they know they're on top, so it don't matter to them.
That's right. That's right. They like where they are. They don't care. They don't care how many people that must bleed. In fact, they celebrate it at the Jubilee.
Right. Exactly. Didn't they just celebrate it for the Diamond Jubilee like 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the time when they deal with the Kol Nidre. Kol Nidre is them stating that if these are the Jews, the Ashkenaz Jews or the Jews that come out, the phony Jews that think that they're the Jew. The only real EU, which is not a Jew, but the EU, because the J wasn't actually used until the 17th century. So the EU people came out of Ethiopia. Those are the original ones, the ones they call Falasha, which means strangers.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. So these people essentially come together at the Jubilee to reinforce what is called the Kol Nidre. And the Kol Nidre is that any oath they take contradicts their Judaistic teaching and the orders of their rabbi elders, they don't have to actually obey. So they'll take an oath, and then they'll come back and then pronounce the Kol Nidre, which completely takes them away from their oath. So if you have Jews that are Orthodox or practice the Kol Nidre in your government, then no, they don't give a damn whether or not you put their hand on a Bible They could sit their ass on the Bible. They don't care. It don't mean nothing to them.
Right.
They don't care. Mm-hmm.
I see we got another caller on this.
Okay, go ahead, sister. I see where I go with that. All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to
a question. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask caller 567-215 if they wanted to ask a question. I was going to open up their mic, and then you could ask your question. So 567, I'm going to open your mic, but let 757 finish his question up, and then you could come right in. But your mic will be open. 567. Yeah, 567-215. I have your mic open. 567. Okay, don't worry about it. 757, you can continue. I guess he probably put the phone down or something.
Give thanks. It may be the okay. So the give thanks.
Hello?
The question is this.
Is this 567?
Yeah, was I muted or something? Can you hear me?
No, we had you. I took you off the mute, and I was saying your mic was open.
Oh.
But let caller 757 finish asking his question, and then you could go in. Okay. Okay, 757. You can continue.
This question is this: armed resistance. With us having so many avenues, how are we gonna protect the black woman's body? Because I've learned so much about Africa that I realize that across the board we need a martial art. So if you, in all your suggestions and all you ran across, what martial art do you think would be best for a brother like me to practice and then teach the community?
Well, start with something that first learns to heal. Before you learn to kill or maim, learn to heal. That's number one. The first martial art you actually must master is the martial art of the mind. And a lot of people who think that they've mastered it have not. They have to come to a peace. They have to understand healing before they understand how to damage or injure, so that when they do injure, they can heal. Okay, that's first. Second, Tai Chi. Tai Chi is one of the most fundamental forms of the martial arts, even though most people look at it as just an exercise. It's not. It is what most of the top martial artists come back to learn after they've gone around, gotten their 10th degree, black belt and all that. They come right back to Tai Chi. Right. Then I would suggest that you deal with getting weapons training. You deal with rifle training and pistol training, and train your young people, your young kids with it, safety. Just like you teach your young child to grow up, they learn how to drive a car. Car does more damage than kills more people than the bullets in this country, but nobody thinks that the car is a weapon. You see, so if you could teach your child to drive, when the time comes, teach your child to shoot. Teach your child how to defend, not just to defend herself with a gun, to defend herself with a knife or with any weapon that looks like you could turn anything into a weapon. And there are martial artists that are out there, brothers who are out there who can teach you how to turn anything into a weapon.
Give thanks, Elder. And I'll let the brethren this way.
Yeah, Dr. Valentine, what is up with all of these scheduled C-sections and scheduled hysterectomies, partial hysterectomies? Oh, we don't have to take the whole womb out, but we got to take out half of the womb. What's going on with that?
Well, pretty much everything that was spoken about. Women are stressed. They are under more stress than they were ever at. They've invited the type of stress, thinking or been made to believe that they can deal with that type of stress. They see, this is not a diminution of what women are about, but if you look at what women think they can do, I say this, and I've always said this, which has gotten me in trouble. I say women cannot do what men do. When I said that, that kind of blew up because they didn't understand what I meant. I said women cannot do what men do. They can only do and imitate what they see men do. See, there's a difference. Women
That's true.
imitate what they see men do. They do not do what men do. What men do is because of what testosterone dictates to him to do. He formulates. He's a problem solver. Testosterone has him do things actively. His body is made for combat, for protection. It has an inordinate amount of strength. His Adam's apple is what allows him to have the torque and the counterbalance to be able to lift heavy weights. Women today are doing things to mutate their bodies in order to do and imitate what men do. There is nothing that women are doing in their so-called equality status that is not imitating a man. So I don't care what it is they show you on television. I don't care what sports you see them play. I don't care what it is, activities they do. They are doing nothing else but imitating men. Now, there are men out there who have been pretty much feminized and don't see this and see that women are their equals, and women are not equal to men just as men are not equal to women. There's nothing equal, or else nothing would actually get done. Anything that's equal to itself cancels itself. So if you look at two poles of a magnet, positive and negative, if you were to put the negative on the negative side and the positive on the positive side, they wouldn't stick. They would repel one another. So the very thing that women are doing is actually repelling the femininity within them as soon as they start acting and thinking like men. The more stress a woman has, the more deformities she creates in the children of the future. The idea, the reason why men are sicker, have bigger lungs, are stronger, heavier bones, to take more stress than women. But women have been told that they can take the same stress as men. They can do whatever a man can do. So you see them doing this, opting out of being women, opting out of that safe space that now has been condemned by feminists. Now, let's just get it straight. Feminists are mostly lesbian, which means they already betrayed their womanhood in order to be a pretty much a narcissist. Because if you look at homosexuality, it's a form of pathological narcissism. And people don't know what narcissism is. It means that somebody looks in a river or a mirror and falls in love with the image. So if you look at a man that's looking at another man and has a lustful feeling for another man, it means that he's mentally masturbating with himself, that he's in love with himself, that the very body and the structure and the design of the man is appealing to him because in his psychology that is who he's actually looking to embrace. It's himself. So there's a part of him that essentially is psychologically completely bent. And to tell people like men who feel they're women and now want to have sexual reassignment to feel good about this person and say, well, you know what, I accept your humanity, but I don't accept your choice of what you want to do with your humanity. And that particular thing now is it's almost heretical. It's like I'm a heretic. I'm going against the church of LBGT or whatever they call them now. And this type of nonsense is me having to accept this nonsense about somebody's perverted form of thinking. If those people, instead of doctors who are now making big money just like hysterectomies, the people now making big money are gender assignment surgeons. That's where the big money is now. So now that we have a generation of sick men and sick women who want to twist because they have been turned and twisted inside due to the diet, due to their what we call a congenital disorder, because that's what homosexuality is. If it's born from the womb, then it's a congenital disorder, just like a child being born with no arms. That's a congenital disorder. If you're not born with the mentality that goes with the plumbing that you have, then that's a congenital disorder on the psychological level. And most people are not looking at it like that, because anybody walks up on a gay man or a lesbian woman and say, you are psychologically disordered, you have a congenital disorder, then they want to tell you that you're a homophobe or some kind of nonsense that the feminists and the rest of these other parasites in office are telling you that you are. But I don't accept any of the nonsense. I don't take on any of the crap because I know exactly what that means. So essentially, if you are going to deal in codifying and codifying people like that, give them props for them being a human being, but do not allow them to undermine your ability to say exactly what it is you see, because that's the kind of conditioning that they do for the next society, the next generation. That's why so many young boys you see on Facebook are all made up because their mothers are making them up to look like them. That's the craziness that feminism has brought.
It sounds like a big imbalance.
Monumental. It's gigantic. It's pyramid size.
So how would a woman be able to free herself from the multiple partners? Like, how could she purge her womb out from that? Does it really stay forever? Because I know some people say your partners stick with you for 7 years.
Yeah, well, again, it's up to the woman. At this point, women today have so many outlets for them to go to that are actually supporting their psychology and their psychosis. Women are no longer, or women before, did not necessarily need to take responsibility for their own choices. They could actually offload that blame. Even with the so-called equality status, when actually shown what equality really is, they don't want it. Women today have been living privileged lives, even though they say, well, I don't have a privileged life. I got a 9 to 5. I got to take care of so forth. But yeah, let's go down to where it is. It actually happens in the system itself, and see if this is not a gynocentric society. It is. But today, because of this, what's his name, Carrot Top, is in office, the backswing or the counterbalance to all of the last 16 years of feminism is now swinging in the other direction. And women are going to be out there in the cold. You're going to be seeing more homeless women nowadays. You watch. These were the feminists back in the day when they were coming up from the Oprah era. This Oprah ain't out there anymore. She's out there taking care of her figure and everything. She don't give a damn about women anymore. If she does come out, she give them nothing, but she goes back into a place where she feeds her horses.
Right.
All the rest of these women who pushed feminism on the rest of society, they were paid to be feminists. In fact, when Steven Spielberg was given Color Purple, he was threatened by the feminists that they would boycott all his films. Okay? That's how Color Purple got shot. All right? So I say that as far as our sisters are concerned, it's going to be a hard thing to disengage from this society, but a lot of the sisters are doing that because being that I'm the one that people call to find out how to get themselves back on track, I'm the one getting the calls. My wife is the one getting the calls, and we're getting them every day from the people who are suffering. These are battle-fatigued women, and they're coming to us at 34, 35, and 40 to have children when they've been told back when they were 19 and 20 they need a career. They need to do their thing. They need to, get up in a man's world and be in the competition. Go make something for yourself. So when she did that and delayed having babies during the time when she's most fertile, which is between the ages of 16 and 25, that's the most fertile time for a woman. She has delayed that time to pursue a career so that now after 25, going into 29 and 30 and 31, she says, okay, I want to have a baby now. But by that time, hey, like my grandmother used to say to the young women, them eggs ain't getting any fresher, baby.
Yeah, but my great-grandmother and my grandmother were pregnant at the same time. And my great-grandmother was in menopause when she was pregnant. She was like 55, 56. So my grandmother was like 16.
Understand. But you got to understand what's happening back in those days. They ain't doing the same thing they're doing today. The women today are not doing
But them eggs was dropping, Dr. Valentine.
I know. Hey, listen, my grandmother had 15 children. All right?
Wow. One body had 15.
Yeah, one body had 15. And a woman that's down the beach from us, she had 23 children.
See, I tell people that. They think I'm crazy.
Yeah,
women don't need to be having children at a certain age. I'm like, yes, she do.
Yeah, they don't understand. But again, we don't have the societal structure in place that protects women. Women now are protected by the state because the state used to be the men who were in the community. They destroyed the community by destroying the family because strong families bring strong communities. Strong communities definitely puts government in check. And then they destroy the community. They have your children being turned into your enemy in the street. Then they have to bring more police. They have more excuse to put more police out there, which is exactly what they wanted, an occupying army, because that ain't the police. The police ain't got nothing to do with you. They're an occupying army for those who created your condition in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll be coming up to that time. I need to cut off because I have a lecture that I'm going to be doing in Atlanta.